Ted Nelson was the person who back in the 60s coined...
I thought of the idea of hypertext in the fall of 1960, but not under that name, and for years I tried to explain the idea to people everywhere, and apparently most people thought I was literally insane, but it seemed so clear to me from the very beginning that writing should not be sequential, because the problems we all have in writing sequential prose derive from the fact that we're trying to make it all lie down in one long string. And if we could only break it up into different chunks that the reader could choose, why then we wouldn't have to decide what goes in and what goes out. We could just... Well, Bush, of course, was President Roosevelt's science advisor during World War II, and so he was very much in communication with scientific thinking and recent experiments and the development of the nuclear bomb project all through the war.
Well, you had a good trip?
Very good.
Rough on the way back?
Oh, very slow trip coming back.
What's this film? This is Vannevar Bush himself recreating an historic breakfast for the American Government Film Archive.
Strange notion of history.
I'm going to see the president tomorrow. I'm quite sure that he agrees with us, that the job has to be done, and that we will have the support we need.
Bush conceived of a device he called the Memex, and he wrote it up in, of all places, the Atlantic Monthly in the summer of 1945, when World War II was essentially won. He knew it was won, although we, the public, did not. And this Memex was to be a device that would contain essentially all the writings and publications of every field on microfilm, and he conceived it to be so handy and so small that every scientist would be able to have one.
Ultra-modern way, microfilm.
And of course he had a rather of an underestimate of how much people would be writing and publishing, but then we all tend to underestimate such things. Well, I don't know what effect it had in general. I know that Doug Engelbart, who invented word processing and outline processing and the mouse and multiple windows on the computer screen, Doug Engelbart read it in the South Pacific, and I suspect, although I vaguely remember, and of course this is highly unlikely, it's a clear memory since I was 8 years old, but I think we read it at the dining room table when I was a boy, because we did take the Atlantic Monthly and we did read a great deal aloud.